I found out my boyfriend bought 2 engagement rings on our joint credit card while I was comparing prices for a new stand mixer. Not the most romantic way to discover a proposal, I know, but that wasn't even the worst part. There were 2 charges from Bellamy Fine Jewelers, one for $8,300, another for $8,700, both posted on December 10th, both labeled as fine jewelry purchase. I sat at our kitchen table with my laptop open, the cursor blinking on the Amazon search bar where I'd been looking at KitchenAid mixers 5 seconds earlier. The afternoon light coming through the window felt too bright, too normal. Colton was at work. He worked as a commercial lending officer at First Heritage Bank, the kind of job that came with expense accounts and client dinners. We'd opened the joint account 2 years ago when we moved in together. Rent, utilities, groceries, the usual shared expenses. The joint card was supposed to be for us, for our life together. I called the jewelry store. The woman who answered had one of those smooth, practiced voices that expensive stores train into their employees. "Bellamy Fine Jewelers, this is Chloe speaking. How may I assist you today?" "Hi, yes, I'm calling about 2 purchases made on December 10th. I'm trying to confirm some details for insurance purposes." "Of course," Chloe said. I heard keyboard clicking. "May I have the name on the account?" "Colton Briggs." More clicking. A pause that lasted 3 heartbeats too long. "Yes, I see 2 transactions here, both engagement rings. Is there something specific you need confirmed?" "Were they the same ring?" Another pause. "I'm afraid I can't provide specific details without Mr. Briggs present, but I can tell you they were 2 different rings from our collection." 2 different rings. I thanked her and hung up. My hands were steady. That was the strange part. I thought I'd be shaking, crying, throwing things. Instead, I felt cold and clear, like someone had dumped ice water over my brain. The late nights at work that started in October, the phone calls he'd take in the other room, the way he'd been so insistent about keeping our Christmas party small this year. I'd assumed he was stressed about year-end numbers at the bank. I'd been planning our annual Christmas party for 3 weeks. This year's was supposed to be on December 22nd, 3 days before Christmas. I'd already ordered the catering, bought new string lights for the back patio. 42 people had RSVP'd yes. Colton came home around 6:30 that evening. I was in the living room, scrolling through our joint credit card statement on my phone. He kissed the top of my head on his way to the kitchen. "Hey babe, how was your day?" His voice was cheerful, easy, the voice of someone who had nothing to hide. "Good," I called back. "Productive. Yours?" "Long. Henderson's been riding everyone about quarterly projections." I heard the refrigerator open, the clink of a beer bottle. "What do you want to do for dinner?" 4 years of this. 4 years of easy conversations and shared dinners and inside jokes. 4 years of believing I knew him. I kept scrolling through charges. The Greenhouse Restaurant, September 19th, dinner for 2, $634 with tip. I'd been in Seattle that weekend for my college roommate's baby shower. Another dinner, different restaurant, October 3rd. I'd been working an event that Saturday. Then Willow Creek Inn, November 16th, a bed and breakfast 2 hours north. He'd told me it was a solo trip to decompress. "Paige?" I looked up. Colton stood in the doorway, beer in hand, still wearing his work clothes minus the tie. He was handsome in that catalog model way. Tall, fit because he had a Peloton and actually used it, dark hair always styled just enough to look effortless. "Yeah? You okay? You look intense." I smiled, just going through the budget for the party, making sure we have enough for everything. He sat next to me on the couch, close enough that I could smell his cologne, the same cologne I'd bought him for his birthday in March. "It's going to be great," he said. "You always throw the best parties." "Thanks." I locked my phone. "Hey, random question. Did you use the joint card for anything big recently? I'm seeing some charges I don't recognize." I watched his face. He was good, I had to give him that. His expression stayed open, confused in that harmless way. "Big? Like what?" I don't know, just some larger amounts. Might be fraud. I'm going to call the bank tomorrow. Yeah, definitely call them. He took a sip of his beer. I haven't used it for anything unusual. Probably fraud. That night, after he fell asleep, I took his phone from the nightstand. I knew his passcode. We'd always known each other's passcodes. I found her in his messages under the name Greg, Jim. The most recent text was from that afternoon, sent at 4:17. Greg, Jim wrote, "Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Lunch at our spot?" Colton had replied, "Noon. I'll make a reservation." I scrolled up. Weeks of messages. Months, maybe. Pet names that made my skin crawl the second I saw them. Photos I deleted from my mind the second I saw them. Plans and promises and inside jokes that mirrored the ones we had. Then I found it. The message from December 10th, the day he bought the rings. Colton had written, "Just left Bellamy Fine Jewelers. Can't wait to give it to you on Christmas Eve. It's perfect." She'd replied with a string of heart emojis. I scrolled down further until I found what I needed. Her name was Simone Ashworth. She worked in pharmaceutical sales. They'd met at a banking conference in Portland in September. She lived in the city, about 40 minutes from our house. She knew about me. There was a message from November, late at night. Simone had written, "Do you think you'll actually leave her?" Colton's response, "After the holidays, I promise. I just need to get through Christmas without drama. You know how she gets about her party." How I get about my party. I put his phone back and went to the bathroom, turned on the shower so he wouldn't hear me if I made any sound. I stood under the water until it ran cold. The next morning, Colton left for work at 7:45 like always, kissed my cheek, told me he'd be home late because of a client dinner. I waited until 8:30, then I called Bellamy Fine Jewelers again. "I need to speak with someone about a purchase my fiancé made. He bought an engagement ring, and I'd love to see if you have the other woman's contact information on file. We're planning a surprise."
"Oh, how wonderful," the woman said. "Let me pull up the account. Name? Colton Briggs. Clicking sounds. A thoughtful hum. I see 2 purchases here, but I'm only showing contact information for Mr. Briggs himself. Is there any way you could tell me which ring was purchased first?" She laughed, warm and conspiratorial. "Between you and me, the $8,700 purchase was first, the Vivienne setting, princess cut, platinum band. The second was the Margot setting, emerald cut, white gold. More expensive ring first. I wondered which one he thought I deserved. I hung up and opened Instagram. Found Simone Ashworth's profile in about 90 seconds. It was public. She was pretty in that specific way that required effort to maintain. Blonde highlights, expensive eyebrows, lips that had definitely seen a dermatologist. Her feed was carefully curated brunch photos, workout selfies, and inspirational quotes about women supporting women. I sent her a direct message. "Hi, Simone. You don't know me, but I'm a friend of Colton's. We're throwing a Christmas party on December 22nd, and he mentioned you might enjoy coming. It's at our place. Very casual. Just friends and family celebrating the season. Would love to have you if you're free. Let me know and I'll send you the address. Paige." I hit send before I could second-guess myself. My phone buzzed around 10:30. Simone had replied. "Hi, yes, Colton mentioned you. I'd love to come. Should I bring anything?" My coffee had gone cold in my cup. I typed back, "Just yourself. We'll have plenty of food and drinks. Starts at 7. So excited to meet you." She hearted the message. I sent her our address. The next week and a half passed in a strange, suspended kind of normal. Colton went to work. I went to work. We had dinner together most nights. He asked if we needed more wine. I said yes. At night, I read through more messages on his phone while he slept, watched the daily exchange between him and Greg-Jim. He told her he loved her on December 15th. He told me the same thing on December 16th. I confirmed the catering order, tested the string lights, bought a new dress for the party, deep green velvet with a neckline that made me feel powerful. Simone and I exchanged a few more messages. She asked what the dress code was. I told her festive cocktail attire. She sent me a photo of 2 dresses. I picked the red one. She had no idea what was coming. Neither did he. December 22nd arrived cold and clear. I spent the morning setting up. The caterers came at 4. I arranged the bar cart, set out cocktail napkins printed with little Christmas trees. Colton got home at 5:30. "Wow," he said, looking at the living room. I'd strung lights across the ceiling, set up the Christmas tree with white and gold ornaments. "Paige, this looks incredible." "Thanks," I said. I wanted it to be special this year. He came up behind me and wrapped his arms around my waist, kissed my neck. "You're amazing, you know that?" I turned in his arms and smiled up at him. "I try." "I'm going to shower and change," he said. "What time do people start arriving?" 7. My phone buzzed. A text from Simone. "Hi, yes, Colton mentioned you. I'd love to come. Should I bring anything?" My coffee had gone cold in my cup. I typed back, "Just yourself. We'll have plenty of food and drinks. Starts at 7. So excited to meet you." She hearted the message. I sent her our address. The first guests arrived at 6:75. My best friend Lauren and her husband, then my coworker Michelle and her boyfriend. By 7:30, the house was full. Music playing, conversations flowing, people complimenting the decorations. Colton worked the room like he always did at parties. Charming, attentive, making sure everyone had drinks, playing the perfect host. I checked my phone. 7:32. The doorbell rang at 7:38. "I'll get it," I called out. I opened the door. Simone Ashworth stood on my porch in the red dress I'd helped her pick out, holding a bottle of wine, smiling that influencer smile that showed all her teeth. "Hi," she said. "You must be Paige. I'm Simone." "Simone," I said, matching her energy exactly. "I'm so glad you could make it. Come in, come in." She stepped inside, looking around at the decorations, the crowd of people. "Your home is beautiful," she said. "Thank you. Here, let me take your coat." I hung her jacket in the hall closet, set the wine on the entry table. "Can I get you a drink?" I asked. "That would be perfect." I led her toward the kitchen, weaving through clusters of guests. I could see Colton across the room, talking to someone from his work. He hadn't seen her yet. I made Simone a drink at the bar cart. Strong. "So," I said, handing her the glass, "how do you know Colton?" She took a sip, and I watched something flicker across her face. "We met through work," she said carefully, "at a conference." "Oh, that's right," I said. "The Portland one, wasn't it? In September?" Her smile froze for just a fraction of a second. "Yes, exactly." "He mentioned it," I said, my voice light and friendly. "Said he met some interesting people there." Before she could respond, I touched her elbow gently. "Come on," I said. "Let me introduce you around." I guided her through the party, introducing her to Colton's friend from the conference, watched her shake hands, make small talk, slowly realize that something about this situation wasn't quite right. We were halfway across the living room when Colton finally saw her. I watched his face go through an entire journey in the span of 3 seconds. Confusion, recognition, and then pure, ice-cold panic. He was holding a beer. His knuckles went white around the bottle. I waved him over, smiling. "Colton, come here. I want you to say hi to Simone. She made it." He walked toward us like a man heading toward his own execution. The color drained from Colton's face as he reached us. Up close, I could see a thin line of sweat forming at his hairline, despite the comfortable temperature in the house. "Simone," he said, his voice tight. "Isn't it great she could make it?" I said brightly. "She was telling me all about the Portland conference. Sounds like you two really hit it off there." Simone looked between us, her perfectly shaped eyebrows drawing together slightly. She wasn't stupid. I could see her mind working, piecing together that something was very wrong with this picture. Colton's told me so much about you, I said, taking a sip of my own drink. I feel like I know you already. Really? Simone said slowly. Her grip tightened on her glass. That's funny. He's never mentioned you to me. The music kept playing. Around us, people laughed and chatted, completely oblivious to the bomb about to detonate in my living room. Oh, I tilted my head, playing innocent. That's strange. I mean, we've been together for 4 years, living together for 2. You'd think that would come up at some point. I watched her face change, the confusion shifting to understanding, then to something harder, angrier. 4 years, she repeated. I nodded toward Colton, who looked like he wanted the hardwood floors to open up and swallow him whole. We moved into this house together in January of 23. Got the joint credit card around the same time. For shared expenses, groceries, utilities, engagement rings. Simone went very still. Engagement rings, she said flatly. 2 of them, actually. I pulled out my phone, opened the credit card app, and turned the screen toward her. Both from Bellamy Fine Jewelers, both purchased on December 10th. Want to guess which one was more expensive? She stared at the screen, her face going pale under her expertly applied makeup. Colton finally found his voice. Paige, can we talk about this privately? No, I said simply. I don't think we can. Lauren appeared at my elbow, her eyes sharp. She'd known something was up the moment Simone walked in. We'd been best friends since college. She could read me better than anyone. Everything okay over here? Lauren asked, her tone friendly, but her gaze fixed on Colton like a predator watching prey. Everything's perfect, I said. I was just telling Simone about the rings Colton bought. You remember, right? I called you when I found the charges. Lauren's expression turned to ice. Oh, I remember. More people were starting to notice the tension. Conversations nearby had gone quiet. Michelle drifted closer, then another friend, then Colton's coworker from the bank. The circle around us grew wider, more attentive. Simone finally spoke, her voice shaking with fury. You told me you were single? You said you'd just gotten out of a long-term relationship, that you were ready for something real. Classic, muttered Lauren. He told you that? I asked, genuinely curious now. What else did he tell you? That he was in love with me, her voice cracked. That he'd never felt this way about anyone. That he was going to propose on Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve? I repeated. Interesting, because our annual Christmas party is today, December 22nd, and he's been helping me plan it for weeks. Picked out the wine himself just 3 days ago. Colton tried again. Both of you, please, this isn't the place. No, I think this is exactly the place, Simone cut him off. Her shock was transforming into rage, and I couldn't blame her. Whatever else she was also a victim of his lies. You've been lying to me for months? He's been lying to both of us, though I've known about you for almost 2 weeks now, ever since I found the charges, and the texts on his phone, and the dinner reservations, and the hotel bookings. The crowd around us had grown larger. Someone turned the music down. I could see Colton's friend from the actual gym staring at him with disgust. His coworker from the bank had her phone out, probably texting everyone else from First Heritage. This was going to be around his office by morning. Good. The texts? Simone's voice went up an octave. What texts? Oh, you're saved in his phone as Greg, Jim. Very creative. Though you might want to know that he told you he loved you one day, then told me the exact same thing the next day, December 15th and 16th, if you want to check your messages.
Simone turned on Colton, her red dress swirling with the movement. You told her you loved her while you were planning to propose to me? Colton started, but he had nothing. What could he possibly say? Actually, I continued, pulling up his messages on my phone. I'd taken screenshots of everything. You might want to see this one from November. I showed her the screen. Her own message asking if he'd actually leave me. His response about getting through Christmas without drama because of how I get about my party. You patronizing piece of... Simone didn't finish the sentence. Instead, she threw her drink in his face. The room erupted. Someone gasped. Someone else laughed. Colton stood there dripping with cranberry and vodka, his expensive button-down ruined. "Simone, wait!" He tried to grab her arm. She yanked it away. "Don't touch me. Don't ever touch me again." "You need to leave," I told Colton quietly. "Now." "This is my house too," he said, but his voice had no strength behind it. "Is it?" I pulled out another piece of paper from my pocket. I'd been carrying it around all night, waiting for this moment. Because I'm the only one on the lease. My name, my signature. You moved into my house, Colton. My house that I bought with my money from my event coordinator job before I ever met you. That wasn't entirely true. We'd both been contributing to rent, but the lease was in my name, and right now, that was all that mattered. His jaw tightened. "You can't just kick me out." "Actually," Lauren's husband said from somewhere in the crowd, he was a lawyer, "she can. It's her property. You're not on the lease. She can ask you to leave, and if you don't, it's trespassing." Colton looked around the room at 42 faces staring back at him with varying degrees of disgust, anger, and disappointment. His reputation was destroyed. His relationship was destroyed. By tomorrow, his professional reputation would probably take a hit, too. "The ring," Simone said suddenly. "Where is it? The one you bought for me?" "It's..." Colton's face went red. "It's in my car, in the glove compartment. I was going to..." "Go get it, right now." He hesitated, then seemed to realize he had no other choice. He walked through the silent crowd toward the front door, dripping cranberry cocktail on my hardwood floors. We all waited. Nobody spoke. The Christmas lights twinkled cheerfully overhead, completely at odds with the tension in the room. Colton returned 2 minutes later with a small velvet box. He held it out to Simone. She took it, opened it, looked at the ring for a long moment. The Vivian setting, princess cut, platinum band. $8,700. Then she closed the box, walked to the kitchen, and dropped it in the trash can. "Simone," Colton started. "No," she said firmly. "I'm done. We're done. Don't call me. Don't text me. If you ever contact me again, I'll file a restraining order." She grabbed her coat from the closet, looked at me for a moment. "I'm sorry. I didn't know about you. I swear I didn't know." "I believe you," I said, and surprisingly, I did. She left without another word. The room stayed silent for 3 more seconds. Then I looked at Colton. "Your turn. Get out." "Paige, come on. We can talk about this. Work through it." "There's nothing to work through. You bought 2 engagement rings on our joint credit card. You've been seeing someone else for months. You told her you loved her?"
You were planning to leave me after you got through the holidays without drama? I stepped closer to him. Because you know what would have been dramatic? Breaking up with me before Christmas, before our annual party, before you had to face our friends and family and explain yourself. That's not... Get out. My voice didn't rise. I didn't yell. I didn't need to. Lauren stepped up beside me. Then Michelle. Then 3 more friends, a wall of women all staring at him. "You should leave, man," Lauren's husband said quietly. Colton looked at me one more time, maybe hoping for something. Forgiveness? Understanding? A chance to manipulate his way back in? He wasn't going to get it. "I'll come back tomorrow for my things," he finally said. "No, you'll come back on December 26th with a police escort to get your things. I'm not letting you back in this house unsupervised. Who knows what you'd try to take that isn't yours?" His face flushed with anger, but he was outnumbered and he knew it. He turned and walked out, slamming the door behind him so hard the wreath shook. The second the door closed, the entire room let out a collective breath. Then Lauren hugged me. "Holy hell, Paige," she said into my hair. "That was the most badass thing I've ever seen." Michelle was next, then a line of people wanting to hug me, tell me I deserved better, offer to key his car or slash his tires, or help me pack his stuff. I accepted the hugs, declined the property destruction offers. Someone turned the music back up. Someone else made a toast to honesty, to loyalty, to not being with men who lie their way through life. The party continued, better somehow, like the removal of Colton's presence had lifted something heavy from the air. Around 9:30, the doorbell rang again. I opened it to find a police officer standing on my porch. "Evening, ma'am. We got a call about a domestic disturbance at this address." Behind him, I could see Colton sitting in his car at the curb, phone in hand. Of course he'd called the cops. Of course he'd try to make himself the victim. "No disturbance, officer," I said calmly. "I asked my ex-boyfriend to leave my home. He's not on the lease. He lived here but was never on the lease. I have witnesses inside who can confirm he left without incident." The officer looked past me into the house full of people clearly having a party, then back at Colton and his car. "Ma'am, did he threaten you in any way?" "No, I just asked him to leave after I found out he'd been in another relationship for several months." The officer's expression shifted slightly. Sympathy, maybe. "All right, I'll speak with him. If he comes back without your permission, call us immediately." "I will. Thank you, officer." I closed the door and went back to my party. Colton's car was gone 10 minutes later. The party wound down around midnight. People hugged me on their way out, made me promise to text them if I needed anything, told me again how proud they were of me for standing up for myself. Lauren was the last to leave. "You okay?" she asked at the door. "Honestly?" I thought about it. "Yeah, I think I am. You're incredible, you know that? I had a good teacher." I hugged her. "Thank you for having my back tonight. Always."
After everyone left, I cleaned up, threw away paper plates and plastic cups, put leftover food in containers, took down some of the decorations. I found the velvet ring box in the trash where Simone had thrown it. I pulled it out, opened it. The ring really was beautiful. Setting, emerald cut, white gold. I'd never know, and honestly, I didn't care. I dropped the box back in the trash and tied up the bag. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Hey, it's Simone. I got your number from the Instagram messages. I just wanted to say thank you for inviting me tonight, for showing me who he really was. I'm sorry you had to find out this way too. I hope you're okay." I stared at the message for a moment, then typed back. "Thank you for coming. I know it wasn't easy. I hope you're okay too. If you need to talk, I'm here." She replied with a heart emoji. Two women who'd been pitted against each other by the same man, now allies instead of enemies. I poured myself a glass of wine from one of the unopened bottles Colton had bought, sat on the couch, and looked at my Christmas tree. The house was quiet, peaceful, mine. 3 days later, Colton came back with 2 police officers to collect his things. I'd already packed everything in boxes, neat and organized, stacked by the front door. His clothes, his Peloton, his stupid, expensive coffee maker, all of it. He tried to take some kitchen items. "Those are mine," I said. "I bought them before you moved in." He started to argue. One of the officers cleared his throat. Colton left with just his boxes. I changed the locks that afternoon. On Christmas Eve, Simone texted me a photo of herself at a bar with friends, smiling, genuinely happy. The caption read, "Better off." I sent back a photo of me and Lauren having dinner at my favorite restaurant. Same. On Christmas morning, I woke up in my house, in my bed, with my cat Winston curled up next to me, and absolutely no regrets. My phone had 37 messages in the group chat with my friends, memes about terrible men, offers to come over with mimosas, Lauren asking if I wanted to join her family for Christmas dinner. I did. That afternoon, sitting around Lauren's parents' table, eating turkey and laughing at her dad's terrible jokes, I realized something. I'd spent 4 years building a life with someone who saw me as convenient, as part of his image, as something to keep around until something better came along. But the life I'd built, the house, the career, the friends, the strength to stand up for myself when it mattered,
That was all mine, and I was taking it into the new year with me, along with one very important lesson. Never ignore red flags, and always, always check the credit card statements. 2 weeks later, I got a message from someone at First Heritage Bank. Turns out, Colton's boss had found out about his extracurricular activities, professional ethics concerns, misuse of company resources for personal relationships. He'd been fired. I won't pretend I didn't smile when I read that. By February, I'd started dating again, casually, carefully, with my eyes wide open and my credit card statements locked down tight. And every time I walked into my house, my name on the lease, my furniture, my rules, I felt grateful.
Grateful that I'd found out when I did. Grateful that I'd had the spine to do something about it. Grateful that I'd turned what could have been the worst Christmas of my life into the moment I finally put myself first. The ring box stayed in my trash until garbage day. I never did find out what the cheaper ring looked like. Didn't matter. I had everything I needed already.